W5d citation revolves around giving a full APA or MLA citation for the information that you've gathered. This piece will be called the bibliography and will appear at the end of your research project. It's an important piece because without it, you are considered to be plagiarizing, and that's a major offense that can even get you kicked out of a college class. So this particular target starts at the 1 level with being able to create some sort of APA bibliography, but you might be missing a lot of the information that it should feature. At the 2 level, you're missing some information. At the 3 level, you have all of the needed information, and there's a good amount of it. And at the 4 level, it's perfectly formatted. This would include having it be alphabetical, having proper indentation, spacing, and punctuation when the entire list is formatted together. Why do we have to do this? A lot of people find citation to be very frustrating. It is probably one of the most rule-based things in the subject of English. But the truth is that it gives a lot of validity to your work. If you don't have citations in your research project, people don't know if you've simply made the information up. If the citations are there, then they know that you have put some effort into finding the correct information and that it's very likely that that information was well chosen. In-text citations, the smaller pieces that are talked about in W5C as well, just are meant to help us find the entry in the bibliography. So if someone is reading through a paper or looking at a project of yours, they see the in-text citation, Smith 2012, and they, if they're more interested in that topic and want to learn more about that source, can then go to your bibliography and they can find the full entry. That will help them find the source itself. So if they want to go and actually read the information where you got it, now they can do that because you've provided them with the way to do that, either the link to the website or the publishing information of the book so that they can get a copy of it for themselves. We're going to talk about a couple of different types of sources that you might need to cite, and I've chosen what I think you are most likely to encounter with the types of research that you will be doing for me, but probably really for the rest of your research lives. Books with editors, these would be most books that you'd be using to gather information. This would not apply to your basic fiction book where they only have one author, but rather to books that have lots of information gathered into one place. So editors are different from authors. Editors are not the writers of the book, they're the people who have gathered all the information into that particular collection. And they deserve credit too. What you'll see with the citation there is that you'll list the editors first, and it will be the last name and the first name. And you'll list all of the people who are involved, and then you're going to put editors in parentheses afterward to indicate that they are editors and not authors. Then you'll notice that we have the date of publication in parentheses, the title of the book italicized, but notice only the first word is capitalized, the city of publication, the state of publication, a colon, and then the publication company, and that will be capitalized. It will close with a period. For the in-text citation, it would be the first editor only and just their last name, plus the words et al. To indicate that there were more editors. Then the date, and then, of course, the information would come first, the citation, and then the period. As an example, we see Doe, Jane as the first editor, and then this had a 2 editor, so it's John Jeeves, editors, 1990, this book is fake, made in Lansing, Michigan, by the Crazy Company, and then we've got our period here. Let's pretend that we are looking at a research paper and that this was information I gathered, Doe et al., 1990. Probably the most common type of source you'll use will be the basic website. You'll look for as much of this information as you can gather, and we'll talk about what ifs if you're missing some of this information on a future slide. Ideally, you'll find the author for your website, and so you do their last name, comma, first name, no punctuation here, date of publication in parentheses, and then the period. And you really only need the year here, so if they give you something more than that, you can just omit it. The title of the article with only the first word capitalized unless they're proper nouns. Period. Retrieved from with a capital R, you actually have to write that, and then you can copy and paste the web address, but you can just do the basic web address. You don't need to do it if it's very long. If there are numbers in there, you can do the abbreviated version. In-text citation would be the author last name, comma, date of publication. For example, Smith, comma, John J. This period is here because J is an abbreviation of the middle name, not because you typically need a period there. 2012 is the year, and then the period. How to cite sources with only how capitalized, period. Retrieved from with capital R, and then your web address. Notice there's no closing punctuation here. That might confuse people if they're copying and pasting that into their browser, so we omit it when it's a website. Pretend we've taken a quote and put it into our research. We have our quote marks, we have our citation in parentheses, and then our period. Another popular resource for research for papers would be an online newspaper or journal. Again, we start with the author if we can find it, the date of publication, the title of the article. From here we get a slight change. We'll also add in the title of the journal. Notice it is fully capitalized because it is a proper noun. The volume number, comma, between, and the period, and then the retrieved from and the web address. In-text citation remains the same, author, last name, date of publication. Example, Doe, comma, Jane, J. Again, remember that period's there because it's an abbreviation. 2012, period, more on citation, just the M is capitalized, but once again, in that journal name, the whole thing is capitalized as case may be, so it's APA guide, still capitalized, comma, volume 5, and then period, and then the retrieved from remains the same as the basic website. Pretend that the information we've taken is just paraphrased, and then our in-text citation, no punctuation here, in parentheses, Doe 2012, and then our ending punctuation. Here are the what-ifs. Common information that's hard to find, no author. In this day and age, a lot of information that's posted is posted by the organization as a whole, and it won't list a specific author. If that's the case, you replace the author with the organization name, and that's your first choice. So for instance, let's say OWL at Purdue is the organization. We would write it out exactly as it appears in the copyright information. That's generally where you'll find the organization name, and then everything else remains the same. In text, you're just going to use the first word, which would be OWL. If you can't find the organization, then your second option is to replace with the title of the text. But again, that's your second option, go with the organization first. If that's the case, the punctuation remains the same, only the first word is capitalized. And then in text, again, you pull just the first word, how to how. If there's no date, it's a very easy fix. You replace with capital N period, capital D period. And so we see here, Smith John Jay actually wrote with no date, and in text, still no date. So this is an example of a full works cited page. Remember, it should be alphabetical, so we have our B, G, W. It should be formatted properly. This is called a hanging indent. So the first line is going to be flush left, the second and possibly third lines of any, or even fourth, of any citations will be indented. And you can do this in Word by selecting and then selecting hanging indent from the indent options, or you can manually tab it over. Okay, but they should all be tabbed over like so. Notice here we've got an article that we gathered from an online website. We have the author, Jill Barchet. We have the date. We have the title with only the capitalized. We have retrieved from, and then we have the web address, no ending punctuation. We have a book with editors, so we have Granner, comma, Robert C., and Stern, comma, Malcolm E., marked as editors, plus the date, the title of the book, and then we have the publication information, the city, the state, and then the publishing company, and that is closed with a period. And then we've got an example here of a website that did not have a specific author. The organization name, as per the copyright information, was whitehouse.gov. There was no date given, so ND, closed with a period. Building American Skills, B is capitalized because it's the first word, American capitalized because it's a proper noun, skills through community college, and then we've got a retrieve from the whitehouse.gov to close us out. If you are working with other types of sources and you don't know how to cite them, check out the OWL APA guide. They also have an MLA guide if you happen to be required to use MLA down the road in a college class. And of course, be sure not to guess. Now there are online engines that will format a citation for you, but just a word of warning on those. They're not always updated when the style guides change for APA and MLA, and quite frankly, they're not always right. I've had to make a lot of corrections to those over the years for students. So please don't assume that those online engines are actually giving you the proper form of the citation. Match it up against that OWL APA or MLA guide. They do stay up to date. It's a great resource for anything writing related.